Good morning, everyone from Lille. Welcome to the last questions and answers session for our second call of project proposals. My name is Magda Anagnostou. I'm the Policy Learning Platform Coordinator at the Joint Secretariat, and I will be your host today, your moderator, and take you through this session. I have the privilege to be accompanied by two very competent and experienced senior officers with me today. Let me welcome our policy officer, Ilaria Ramaioni. Welcome, Ilaria. And also with Alexandra Nihajovic from the finance unit. For the family and friends, Ila and Ola. I would be very curious also to know who we have today in our audience. I see that we have around 70 participants that have registered. So we will be curious also to see if you are familiar with our program, if you have already been a project partner in a project, or if you have applied, or you're totally a newcomer. So you have a poll on your screens. I've seen that the majority of you have been already involved in a project partnership, so that's already good news. I see, however, that we have a mix of audience. Some of you have applied. We have 18% that have been applied in a project. And of course, the newcomers, that's also reassuring and good news for us because we would like to see newcomers in our future projects. 24% also as newcomers. Okay. Thank you very much for telling us about your profile. You have seen that we have a chat. You can use that to say hello, to tell us where you're coming from. But now for the question and answer session, we will try to use the Slido tool. So in order to submit your questions, please go to slido.com and use the hashtag Interreg Europe. You will be able already to see that there were some questions that already submitted. We have 17 questions, I think, already submitted. So you will be able to look at this and upvote a question if you like it. We will try to take questions according to their popularity. But of course, please, as this is the last opportunity to have your questions answered live, please go ahead and put all your questions down. So before we start looking on what you are curious about learning for the second call, I just like to remind about the dates. This is the most important, I would say, question to remind you that the deadline for the call is the 9th of June, next Friday, by 12 Central European time. So pencil this down on your agendas. We will probably, the timeline for this call is that we will have the answer for the proposals by the end of the year. Of course, be reminded that everything is going to happen online, so the application will be online in our portal. Well, with no further ado, I think we can go directly to the questions. We have already answered about the deadline, the 9th of June, next Friday, and let's dive into the first questions. So first one, if the legal representative is, for example, a mayor, can we include in the portal a mail address of a colleague directly involved in the project and not the mail address of the mayor? I think I can take maybe also the second question, which is linked. Should the person acting as legal representative and the person signing the declaration form be the same? I will ask Ola to comment on the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you for this question. I think I'll start by maybe clarifying what is a legal representative for us and why we ask for this person. So a legal representative would be a person from your organization that is able to legally commit the partner to the project. So it's important that the person that you indicate as a legal representative for all your partners is a person who is able to legally commit them to participate, who is able to commit the budget also. So as long as you included this person there on the list, I understand that if it's a mayor, maybe they don't want to receive the notifications from the portal. And you could, in this case, indicate an email address of a person who's receiving the notifications, the informations, the emails on behalf of the mayor. As for the second question, should the person acting as legal representative and the person signing the declaration form be the same? No, as long they are both legal representatives. So the person signing the declaration form must be able to legally commit the partner to the project, and the person listed as a legal representative must be able to legally commit the partner to the project. This is also particularly important for the lead partner, because the lead partner is the one who is signing the subsidy contract with us. So be sure to indicate the correct people there for the lead partner. And maybe I'll take the opportunity of this question to add one more information. You might have noticed, maybe for those of you who have prepared the application already in the first call, there's a small difference, a small additional information that we are asking. As for all the partners, we are asking to provide also a contact person. So be sure to provide a legal representative and a contact person for each partner. This can be the same person if it's the case in your organization, but it has to be provided for all the partners.
Great. Thank you very much, Alexandra. This was quite clear. So let's move on to our next question. I think this is again for finance. What costs should be under meetings and what costs under events? For example, the final conference. Do the costs need to be budgeted under meeting or at event? Thank you, Alexandra, for commenting.
Yes, so if you go to external expertise and services section, you will see that the type of cost is actually not meetings or events, is exchange of experience meetings or communication events. And this already could give you an idea what should be budgeted under events and what should be budgeted under meetings. Meetings would be the exchange of experience meetings that you are having with your partners and stakeholders. And events would be the communication events that you are organizing to promote the project. So for me, the final conference, as it is a final event where you will be promoting the project results, should be budgeted under communication events.
Okay, thank you very much, Sola. Now we move on to our next question. If we submit the 2nd of June, could we modify the text or declarations before the deadline on the 9th of June? Maybe I will ask still Alexandra to comment.
Okay, so you want to submit your application, meaning today. So the only possibility for you, if you submit your application today, and then you see that there's some modification before the 9th of June, there is a button to revert the application back to you. And then you can make the modifications. But then the moment you reverted your applications, it's considered not submitted. So until you submit it back, you need to remember to submit it back. So this is a tricky operation. So remember, if you revert it back to you to make any modifications before the 9th of June, for us, it's considered non-submitted until you submit it back to us. So if you forget to submit it, it's not submitted. So just be careful with using this option.
So a very big important point of attention here to press the button and be sure that you have submitted your project proposal. Okay, so let's move on from Elisabetta. If the application is successful, when has the project to start? Maybe Ilaria, I hand this over to you, please.
Thanks, Magda. Thanks, Elisabetta, for the question. As you may know, the selection process is a two-step approach. So we first check the eligibility requirements. We will run this check for all the administrative requirements. And then we will, for those that will result eligible from this check, we will then do the quality assessment. So This may take, depending on the number of applications that we receive, may take some time. So normally we run the assessment during the summer period until beginning of the September, October. We will probably finalize all the procedure related to the eligibility, and the member states need to decide on this. And then officially a decision may be taken by December. So we say that the new project would start the implementation in the first semester of 24.
Right, thank you very much. Maybe we actually somehow answered another question. When are we going to get some feedback on our proposal? Indeed, as you explained, Ilaria, the idea is that by the end of the year, we finalize the assessment. So hopefully by beginning of next year, the projects will know if they are approved or not. Okay, so let's move to our next question. Is there a minimum number of pilot actions required to be implemented? Could you please comment on this, Ilaria?
Yes, there is a limit, but before going into this, I would like, maybe it's important to clarify, first of all, that pilot actions are not compulsory activities. Indeed, the, let's say, traditional exchange of experience activities such as meetings, study visits, staff exchanges, peer review at interregional level should be the core focus on any Interreg Europe project. So the pilot action may be one of the ingredients of your approach, but I would like to clarify that is not compulsory. Since they are quite demanding, it is allowed to request one pilot action per region, per project during the project lifetime. So there is this limit indeed. So you can either request a pilot action at the application stage or at the midterm. If we are talking about a pilot action at the application stage, so you need to define them in the preparation phase of your proposal. And this implies that all the features of this pilot action are already known at this stage, because you will need to explain and describe in the application form what are the activities, what is the nature of your pilot action. So they need to be defined already in the preparation phase. So this is very important to keep in mind. And of course, for pilot action at the application stage, also it's important to ensure that are an integral part of the exchange of experience process. So it means that they need to be jointly developed and implemented. This means that you need to involve at least partners from 2 different countries. So the pilot action may be tested in several regions, or if it's only tested in one region, then you will need to ensure the participation of a partner from another country as having, for instance, a coaching role supporting the partner implementing the pilot.
Thank you very much, Ilaria. Maybe just a complementary question that we have here about the pilot actions, that if we anticipate that we have other pilots in the project, should this be included already in the planning or mentioned somewhere in the application? Because you mentioned everything that we know at the beginning has to be very clearly defined, but if there is something that is planned later, should be already mentioned in the application form.
For pilots that you may request later on at the midterm of your project, there is no need to mention or make a reference at the application stage in the application form, because this will be then discussed and decided later on together with the joint secretariat. So you can focus in the application form on those pilots that you intend to request and present now at the application stage. But for those that may come later on, that you may plan after the exchange of experience process, there is no need to mention those activities, and also to don't plan a specific budget for this.
Great, thank you. Very clear guidance there from Ilaria. So let's move on the interregional policy learning events. We have a question from Carmen. Is it compulsory to have an interregional policy learning event as asked by the output indicator 5 for each semester of the core phase. Ilaria, if you could comment on this, please.
Yes, thanks, Carmen, for the question. So there is no, let's say, no specific requirement in relation to the number of interregional policy learning events that you should plan in your project at program level, because this is up to each project. It's up to the approach that you will and the methodology that you will adopt. So what is important for us is that the approach is defined and designed based on your needs, or as to make sense for you in order to achieve your goals, to achieve your objective and results. So it's important that it's coherent, the activities are designed in a coherent way, they are interlinked, there is a logic and a continuity of those activities. So we normally see that projects plan around 1 or 2 interregional policy learning events per semester. So this is normal. This is what we usually see. Of course, the exchange of experience activities are the art of our project. So are the tool, the mean to achieve your results. So it's important to plan those activities really thinking about what you want to achieve. So would be fine 1 or 2. Usually it's the classic approach.
Thank you very much, Ilaria. So be aware about your work plan to be coherent in line with the policy instruments that you are tackling, that there is a red thread. Okay, maybe we can move on in another set of questions that I will ask Alexandra to comment. Maybe we start with the contact details. Where can we introduce the contact details of the partners in the portal? Alexandra, please give us some insight.
Thank you. There is a specific section. It's at the bottom of the left-hand menu that you have when you're filling in the application form. The section is called Project Users. And the lead applicant can go there and add a partner to, add a user for each partner.
Okay, thank you very much. I will move a little bit on the question about the signatures for declarations of intent from Diane. Is it possible to sign digitally or only manually? And I will take this together with the question, are all the formats of electronic signatures admitted? There are signatures for certain PAs that do not comply with regulation or the decisions of EU. What do we do in these cases? Alexandra, please let us know.
So the partner declarations can be submitted either digitally or manually, whatever your organization, whatever method your organization is using. Now, for the question about specific types of digital signature, in general, the rule is we take all the digital signatures, as long as it's an actual signature, not written down the name of the person. If you have specific doubts on the type of the signature that you are using or your partner is using, please send us a message. We will direct it to our IT officer just to be sure that we are able to read the signature.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Maybe I stay a little bit with the budget. How much budget do you consider will be available for midterm pilot actions? A little bit of a link, because we said for those ones that you have to be very clear and detailed at the application form, but there might be pilots are coming up later. So please tell us about the budget that could be available for these pilot actions.
Well, it's too early to say how much budget there will be available from the program to finance any additional activities or pilot actions. What our message for you would be, this is not the time to worry about it now. Either you have a pilot action ready, well-defined, and then you include it now, or you will through implementing a project, you will get an idea of a pilot action, and then you will propose it at the midterm review. And there we focus on the quality of your pilot action. As long as the quality is good, this is what you should worry about, really. And at this point, it's not the time yet to think about the midterm pilot actions. It's the time to think whether you have a pilot action that's ready now, then you include it. If not, we will be talking about it in a few years when your project is approved. And this is when we will take up this subject.
Great. So focus to the present. We have a question, yes, for the support that you can get. It's a clarification from a previous question. The earlier question about the feedback referred to the pre-submission review of proposals, not the formal decision to approve them. Indeed, as we are just a week before the deadline, people are asking what kind of other support can we get just for this last week? Maybe Ilaria, can you clarify?
Yes, I'm not sure if to understand the question, but if they are referring to the support, the tool that we put in place to request a specific feedback from the Joint Secretariat on their project idea, on their proposal, this was in place. We put in place and for during the opening of the call, and this tool, this service now is closed. Normally, applicants could check with us the content of their project idea and receive a specific feedback. So now this service is closed, but we can still receive, and we are open to receive any question that you may have on the call or on any specific feature of the program. So this is still possible. If the question then they are referring to this two-step approach regarding the selection of the proposal. So as I was mentioning, the first step is the eligibility check. So for those that will not pass this check, the ineligible projects, they will receive a notification once this check is done and the member states has decided, normally through a written procedure. So the non-eligible project will receive a notification about the outcome of this first check. For those who will be considered eligible, they will continue for the second check related to the quality assessment.
Right. So there are still tools to help you for this last mile, this last week, to get answers to your questions. I will move to the question of Veronica about the budget. The Interreg Europe manual states that it is recommended that the project's total ERDF budget ranges from a minimum of 1 million up to a maximum of 2 million. Does it mean that the EU contribution should be included in this rate, or that the total cost of the project should not exceed the 2 million euros? Alexandra, could you please comment on this question?
Yeah, I see a lot of questions about this this point that we included in the program manual. This is a recommendation. This is what we most usually see, between 1 and 2 million ERDF. And we included it in the program manual to give you an idea of what usually our project budget is. So it's ERDF, not including, on top of that, you still have to get to the total budget. You still have the partner contributions coming from private or public sources. What we are speaking, so this is the first thing that I want to clarify, because I think this was the first part of the question. And about exceeding this amount. Weirdly enough, nobody ever asks about not reaching the 1 million. But this would be the same kind of question. So when we plan a budget, we even say it in almost the same words. When you plan a budget so we say it in the program manual almost in the same words. When you plan the budget, you start with activities. You start with your partnership, what your partners will be doing with your all the activities, you plan the activities, and then you look at the partner cost levels, and then you plan your budget. So if you go above the 2 million euros ERDF, if it's justified by the level of cost in the partners, by the size of the partnership, and by the activities, it is not a problem for us. A problem would be if the budget is blown out of the proportion and we don't know why. We will ask questions then.
Right. Start from the activities and explain everything.
Exactly.
Right. Explain, detail, justify your choices. Thank you very much, Alexandra, for this helpful guidance. We will take now a set of questions more linked to the content. Is it possible to design a new strategy, a new policy instrument, or it has to be an ongoing one? Ilaria, please let us know.
Yes, the policy instrument to be addressed has to be an ongoing one, has to be an existing policy that is already operational, is working. So it's not possible to, the objective of the project should not be to design a new policy, a new strategy, but to improve a specific policy that is already in place. There might be cases where policies are in a drafting phase. So you are finalizing the drafting and the design of this policy. Can be possible to address those policies that are not, let's say, officially approved yet, but will be, let's say, operational during the lifetime of the project implementation. So in this case, you may consider to address those, but you need to have enough information to provide in the application form about the nature of this policy, its scope, its characteristics. So to describe in detail this policy, even if it's in a drafting phase. So you need to focus anyway on something that is operational and existing.
Right. I might take also the question for the policy instruments. Can you explain how to link a policy instrument on investment for jobs and growth to a project that deals with environment and waste? I think this is maybe a question interesting for the jobs and growth projects.
Yes, it's a very important question because, as you may know, there is a requirement, an eligibility criterion to address among the policy instrument you will select in your project at least one that is investment for jobs and growth program. This type of policy that are those programs that the definition comes from the European Commission regulation, and those programs prepared by each country, either at the national or regional level, and approved then by the European Commission. And those programs are having a specific, are focusing on a specific policy objective and specific objectives. So there are some that are focusing, for instance, they have a specific objective on environment and waste, or on environment or green, let's say, thematics. So if your project, your idea, your proposal, your focus is on this type of topics, you will then need, when presenting the policy instrument, the investment for growth jobs program, you will need then to indicate and describe, explain the priority that is focusing on this specific thematic area.
Okay, that's clear. So maybe we have a question about the partnerships. Is it possible to have two partners from the same region? One is an advisory partner, a business support organization, and the other one, a municipality. Ilaria, please comment on this.
Yes, so it's possible that the same policy instrument is addressed by two partners. So we saw, this is also usual, we saw that there is, let's say, the policy responsible authority of the policy, the specific policy, I don't know, the region, the regional authority addressing a specific policy at regional level. They are the organization responsible for the elaboration and the design and the implementation of this policy. And they come with another organization which is maybe more relevant at thematic level, or it's really important for the topic that they are working on. So they come together, can be, I don't know, we have a regional agency or a business support organization that comes together with the region, and they work together in a specific policy. In the question, I would like to clarify that you are mentioning about the advisory partner. In this case, the advisory partner is not addressing any policy instrument, but is supporting the entire partnership for a specific either for the thematic support, so they have the experience, the capacity on the topic that the project is addressing, so they need a thematic support, or is supporting the partnership for certain methodology for organizing the exchange of experience activity. So is not focusing on policy instruments. So in this case, so you may have an advisory partner coming from the same country of the other partner addressing a policy instrument, but then of course you need to pay attention on the balance of at the geographical level to ensure that this is balanced. And if specific country is then covered by several partners, you need to make sure that your partnership is balanced, and you need to justify why you need more partners from the same country.
Okay, so balanced partnership and always justify your choices. Thank you also, Ilaria, for explaining the status of the advisory partner with this question. Let's move on then on some maybe more finance-related questions. Can a stakeholder organization be also an external provider of services needed for the implementation of the project? Can an advisory partner foresee in its budget some cost for external providers, if necessary, for the implementation of some activities? Alexandra, can you please answer this question?
Yes, of course. So normally stakeholders participate in the project, and they don't, when they participate in, they don't get any fees. They are not charged. They are not charging the partners for their participation in a project. They participate and they are not paid for it. We pay the travel costs. However, sometimes you have stakeholders that are experts in a domain, and we have partners that for some reason would like to hire this expert to help them a bit more with elaboration of certain documents or methodology or something. This is possible. However, we will always tell you what you need to remember in such a configuration when you do this: public procurement. You need to be able to prove that all the public procurement rules have been complied with. So European, national, and your own institutional public procurement rules. And you have to ask yourself the question, okay, is this person, can I go directly to this person? Is this person really the only expert in that domain that I can hire? Or maybe I need to make a wider contract. So you really need to focus on the public procurement rules and to ensure that they are respected. But in principle, it is possible to hire a stakeholder as an external provider. Then for the second question about the advisory partner foreseeing in their budget some cost for external providers, yes. So we expect that the advisory partner will come with their own expertise, but there are some things that they might need help, because they don't have in-house employees who can provide the service, who can do these activities. And then, of course, they can hire an external help. For instance, for organization of events, we will see this for several types of costs that they can also hire external providers.
Right. So a nota bene here, pay attention, respect the national and the European public procurement rules. Let's stay a little bit with a budget in the application form. When completing the budget for external expertise and services, is it required to describe the following cost categories: exchange of experience, external support, pilot action, communication material? How much detail should be such a description? Alexandra.
So when filling in the application form and the section F2, this is the exchange of the external expertise and services part, you see that some of the items are pre-filled, so you don't have to provide any description. But for some items, we ask you to describe what costs you are planning here. This is because they are quite general, and would like to know some more about what costs you are planning there. So we want to see that you actually thought about these costs, that you are not adding costs just in case there might be needed. So we would like to see what kind of external support you want, what would be the activities that the external expert will be providing or having with project partners. Same for the pilot action, and for communication material, what kind of communication material, what would be the outputs produced by all these externals hired for the project. And as a general rule, if you have more important amount foreseen there, we would expect that it would be justified and explained so that we could see from the description why you need this specific amount.
Right. So again, explain in detail and justify. We will continue with another question on finance regarding the breaking down of costs per partner. Costs of administrative personnel should be included in staff costs or in the administrative costs. Alexandra.
I'm not sure what you mean by administrative personnel and what they would be doing on the project. You mean some reporting? I don't know what you mean by the administrative personnel, but what you declare in staff costs are all the persons working on the project. So if the person is working on the project and doing something for the project, spending their time on the project, they have their fixed percentage of the time that they are regularly working for the project, then they are declared under staff costs.
Right. Okay. We will move on now to some questions more on content. Ilaria, do the partners only need to mention participation in other Interreg Europe projects from the period 21-27, so only in call 1 and this call 2?
So in the application form, in the part dedicated to the policy instrument, we have indeed a section, a question on the multiple involvement of the organization in several Interreg Europe projects, because it's, as you may know, it's very demanding to participate in our project. So we want to make sure that you have the capacity, the commitment to participate. And we are referring here on Interreg Europe application, so referring to the second call, but also on approved projects under the first call in this new programming period, but you may refer also to other projects that are still running from the previous programming period, in case your organization is still involved on those projects.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. We will move to the questions from Ben about the policy objectives to be selected. So I read through the question. If a project addresses a cross-cutting issue relevant to two policy objectives, for example, smarter and greener Europe, how important is the policy objective selection at project level? In this instance, the project will address the issue of industrial transitions of SMEs towards a low carbon economy. I think there was a second. Two partners will address the Just Transition Fund programs. One partner will address its ERDF Regional Operational Program on Greener Europe, and the other partners will address the regional local policies for decarbonization of industry and especially SMEs. What would you recommend? I think it's very specific, but it gives an opportunity to discuss about this question.
Indeed, it is a very specific question, but it's important because we are tackling an important aspect of our projects, which is related to the thematic, to the topic that they are going to address. Of course, I cannot give you a specific answer because I don't have the elements, I don't know the project proposal, the content, but it's possible to have, let's say, for certain topics, to have a more cross-cutting approach. But of course, our projects still need to be specific, to focus on a clear, on a specific policy, regional policy issue. So you need to have a clear focus of your proposal. So when we talk about cross-cutting approach, does not mean that you can address or tackle many different, let's say, specific objectives. So you need to, as you know, in the application form, you will need to select one specific policy objective, and then this has to be reflected throughout the application form. So not only this issue should be coherently tackled throughout the application form, not only from the selection of the specific objective, but also from the description of the policy instrument. So it's possible to have, because certain topics, of course, are very interlinked, as you were mentioning, for instance, for industrial transition, but you need to ask yourself, what is your primary goal? What is your primary need, your objective? So you need to have an entry door. So are you, let's say, driven more by environmental considerations? So the objective is the reduction of CO2 emissions. So if you are more on this, on the green consideration, then the selection of the policy instrument needs to reflect this approach, this angle. So sometimes there might be that operational program under SMART, they may have some sustainability elements, but you need to make sure that the policy instrument that you are going to select and the specific investment priorities are relevant for the topic that you are going to tackle. So they are relevant for achieving the results. So really try to clarify, identify your primary goal and need of your project. And then the selection, the policy instrument, also the type of organization that you intend to involve may also help you to identify what is your priority in this sense.
Thank you very much, Lara. I hope, Ben, we answered your question. Now we will move on to some more practical finance-related questions regarding the submission of the proposal. We are the consultancy which has written the proposal. Is it possible for us to submit it, or only the lead partner can press the button? Alexandra.
It's better if it's the lead partner user that presses the button. It's kind of like a signature in the system. Yeah.
Right. So next question. The 20% cost to be provided by the partners, what sort of contribution is eligible? Alexandra again.
So first, I need to maybe clarify that the 20% cost, there are two types of partners. There will be private non-profit partners that will be co-financed with the ERDF in 70%. So they will need to provide 30% of partner contribution. And for public partners, so public institutions or institutions governed by public law. This will be 20% cost provided by the by the partners themselves, and 80% ERDF. What we say is that the contribution must come of the partner's own resources. In some cases, partners can get some national co-financing, but for more information about that, I invite you to contact your national point of contact, because they will have relevant information for you about how this national co-financing can be granted, if it can be granted. So if you're interested in that, please check our In My Country section to see who is your national point of contact and get in touch with them to get more information about these additional sources that can be where you can get the funding.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, I see that in the chat you have the link to find your national contact point for this kind of questions. Let's go a little bit more into a detailed question about the financial tables. F1 table, do we combine staff costs of the core project and pilot actions? For the table F.2.4, do we use type of cost column for distinction? Do we combine all the costs for the core project and pilot actions in F.5? Does the same rules apply for both partners, one implementing and the other supporting the first one? Alexandra, could you please clarify this one?
Okay, this is a very,
very specific question.
and detailed question. But okay, let's take it.
Break it down.
Let's break it down into smaller parts. So F1 table. So this is the general table where you have the summary of each cost category by partner. And indeed, there's no differentiation between staff costs for the core project and staff costs for pilot action. So you just include the staff cost for all the staff costs that you need. We don't ask you to differentiate between pilot and there's no way of differentiating between pilot and core project staff costs.
Right.
Then for tables from F2 to F4, so these will be tables where you list in more details the external expertise and services costs, the equipment costs, and the infrastructure and works costs. There are specific categories in these tables, pilot action, and there you choose, in case you are budgeting costs for the pilot action, there you choose pilot action and you describe the type of cost that you're budgeting. So here we see the distinction. And table F5, you just, this is a table where the partner contribution is calculated for you automatically by the system. You can amend it if necessary. So yes, this is automatically calculated. And again, there's no distinction between pilot costs or core project costs.
Right.
And the same rule applies for all partners. Yeah.
Right. I see we have another 13 questions to go, around 15 minutes also for our session. As this is the last Q&A session, your last opportunity to have live your questions answered, please post all the unclarities or the last minute fine-tuning questions that you have on Slido, and we will take up everything that we have on our screen. So let's move on. A very specific question for the German authorities. Public address have no VAT number. Is valid the participant identification code? I think so, Alexandra.
Yes, we ask for VAT number or other identification number. If I remember correctly, the correct formulation, we say VAT number or other identifier. So we want some kind of number that will uniquely identify your organization. A PIC number can be one of these numbers. Please indicate maybe in brackets that this is a PIC number. This, for clarity, it's helpful for us.
Right. I will move to the question about the budget. Having 8 regions, all of them aiming at implementing a pilot action and an advisory partner, our budget will exceed the recommended 1.2 million. How will that be considered in the project assessment?
It was kind of indirectly answered already,
Yes.
but yes, let's state again. You start budgeting with your activities, with your partnership, and if this is your budget, this is your budget. If it's consistent with the activities, with the number of partners, with what they are doing, if this is justified, it will be it will not be to your detriment. So just focus on really planning well the activities and the corresponding budget. Focus on the links between the activities and the amounts that you are planning in the budget section. And then you should be fine.
Right. We will move now to some other questions more for the partnerships. In the section for projects deriving from past Interreg experience, follow-up projects, please clarify the added value of this cooperation. Should it be based on Interreg Europe or also on other Interreg programs? Should it be based on the involvement of partners in these projects? So please, Ilaria, give us some insight on the previous experience that we would like to see.
Yes, in this case, for this question, we are referring to previous Interreg Europe projects because we supported more than 258 projects during the previous programming period. So many topics were extensively tackled by those projects. So we want to see when proposing similar topic, similar issues, we want to see that there is an added value from your proposal because we don't want to support the same initiative, and specifically for follow-up projects, so projects coming really with the same topic, the same partnership. This it's an important question because you need to demonstrate what is the added value from the previous Interreg Europe project that you were running together with the same partnership. So in this case, we are not going to support a continuation of previous Interreg Europe projects. So you will need to demonstrate what is the added value by not only describing or explaining also the selection of the policy instrument, but also the type of partnership. So if you are involving different partners, different regions compared to the previous project, and also the type of activities, the content, how you are going to address this thematic, this topic in the new project. So this is very important. It's an important element to take into consideration when filling in the application form.
I think there was also a question if we are interested in non-Interreg experience.
In general, I think this would be, it's a nice information that we can receive, for instance, when you're filling in the part on the partnership, on the type of the organization. So you are also describing their experience in the topic. And of course, this may derive from other experiences that you had with other projects or your work, your activity in this field. So it's nice to provide this overview and explain, okay, why this organization is relevant for this topic, what is the background, what is the link with the topic, and those experiences may also help to explain and describe this aspect.
Right. So explain your innovative character. Tell us how you built in what has been previously founded. Right. So we will stay a little bit on questions about the partnership. Can we include in the partnership as a partner a non-profit organization which is not linked to any policy authority, but whose expertise is needed for the implementation of a pilot action taking place in another region? Ilaria.
So normally we have as a type of participation, either you participate as a partner and you address a specific policy instrument because the objective is to achieve an improvement, a result on this policy instrument. So either you address a policy instrument, or as we were mentioning before, there is also possibility to be involved as an advisory partner. So bringing your expertise on a specific issue, on a specific thematic area, or on a certain methodology, supporting the partnership, the entire partnership on this, and not focusing on a specific policy. So in this case, I would see more, yes, either this organization is involved together with the policy responsible authority of the policy instrument, and they work together on improving this policy by testing, for instance, a specific initiative, a specific activity through the pilot action, or we are more on the thinking about as an advisory partner supporting the entire partnership, and also maybe also in this case the pilot action.
Right. Thank you very much, Ilaria, for having clarified this. I think now we have some questions for Alexandra, more specific practical ones for the application. A city policy authority, example, Paris. Which type of partners should we indicate in the Form BI details? I don't know if we can give some advice on this, Alexandra.
A city policy authority, which type of partner? Well, you should know what type of partner you are. I cannot. Yes, there are several types of partners there. We don't know what type of partner you are. So if you don't know, well, someone in your organization, I think, should know. I don't know, Ilaria, if you have anything to add on this. This is the first time I see a partner as not knowing what type.
No, I suppose we are talking about if it's the city level, so the public administration we are referring, so they know if it's what is the, yes, their legal status, or what type of organization they should indicate in the form. So I suppose we are talking about public authority, public administration.
I think that what we can advise is that they can always check with the national point of contact if they have doubts on these kind of elements. Okay, we move on. Is it possible to have 2 advisory partners within the partnership if their involvement is clearly justified? Ilaria.
Is it possible? So I would start with a positive, let's say, answer, but it's not recommended. So you see, this is also written in the program manual. There is the possibility of having this type of partner in their partnership, but you know, our main target group are public authorities, because the objective is to help them to design, deliver better policy. So keeping in mind this goal, we target mainly public authority working on the specific policy, regional development policy. So you may need the support, a thematic support, a technical support from an advisory partner, but should be limited. So it's not recommended. We always say that one advisory partner would be enough. So if you go for more, you really need to justify this arrangement, this approach in the application form. And we, anyway, as mentioned, we recommend to keep it very limited.
Right. Very clear guidance. When you go out of the recommendations, you have to be very strong on your justification. Okay, we have another 8 questions to go. Can you give us examples on the role of the steering group for the project? Which activities should it perform? I don't know, Alexandra, maybe you want to pick up this one.
Yes, so each project needs a body to manage it on strategic level and monitor the project on a strategic level. So this would be the role of the steering committee. What they would do. They would include. They would do the project monitoring, provide guidance to the partners on implementation. We would expect that the steering committee keeps an eye on the budget spending. Is it according to the plan? Do we need any changes in the budget? The steering group would also look at activities. Are they going according to plan or not? Do we need any changes? The project's objectives. So this is a body that manages the project. We would expect representatives of all partners to be included in this body. So if you need any more information on it, more information on how this body should function, you can find it. We have a chapter in the program manual on managing the project, so you can go and check there for more details about it.
Right. As we are moving towards the end of our session, you have seen on your screens the poll about feedback. Please, before leaving the session, give us your feedback on how we met and if we met the expectations of you for this day. But we still have some questions to go, so I will go directly to the next one. What if the automatically calculated T&A costs, flat rate, are much higher than the cost we would calculate for each partner? How will that be considered in the evaluation of the budget? Sound budget planning? Alexandra.
Yeah, it's a valid question. Well, this can happen. There are partners for whom it would who would have lower travel and accommodation costs if they had planned them as real costs in comparison to what will be calculated automatically based on their staff costs. But there will be also partners in your projects for whom it will be lower. So it is kind of compensated. And this is a simplification cost option that we offer. So we don't evaluate it in any way. So this is not to your detriment if your travel costs, calculated travel costs will be high. You have to focus on your staff costs, that they are planned in a reasonable way according to your and corresponding to your activities, and then the travel costs will follow from that. Also, the controllers who check your expenditure will focus on checking the staff costs, whether they are reported correctly. So really the focus now moves like even more focus than before on staff in our program.
Right. Okay, we have also another question on the budget. In our partnership, all partners have approximately equal budget. Is this okay? Only the lead partner has a significantly higher budget. The difference is that the partners with higher person month amounts have a higher share of staff costs or less person months than other partners. Alexandra.
It can happen that there is a partnership with approximately the same budgets. If this is consistent with the activities that you have planned, with the level of costs in the partners' institutions, with the roles that the partners are playing in the project, this is not a problem. I don't know then what it means that the lead partner has significantly higher budget. It can happen. If this is justified, if this is logical, if this is a logical consequence of the activities of the partners, including the lead partner, then yeah, it is what it is, and this is fine.
Right. We have two questions, maybe linked to accountancy. Can lead partner pay two partners from the same region to one of them in an accounting way and maintain the traceability? And maybe take also the other one, during the implementation, is it possible to transfer funds from one partner to another? Alexandra.
So I will answer the first one first. So already these questions are, we haven't closed the projects yet, we haven't approved the projects yet, and you are already worrying about the payment. So the payments will happen in 2 years, maybe the soonest. But okay, let's try to answer this question. The lead partner has to pay the partners as soon as possible when they receive the ERDF reimbursement. And then normally they pay each partner individually. Then in your specific situation, I would consult the controller, because the controllers are checking that the ERDF reimbursement is arriving at the same to the partner institution account. So this particular, this is a very specific question, and this particular arrangement would have to be checked with the controller.
Right. Okay. Let's see the question about the Norwegian funding. Can you?
Oh, wait, Magda, because there was this during implementation.
Yes, true. The transfer of funds.
Transfer of funds. I don't see a reason why there would be a transfer of funds. You would need to be more specific than that. Why would one partner transfer funds to another partner? For us, what we do reimbursement. We reimburse the lead partner. The program reimburses the lead partner, and then the lead partner has to reimburse the corresponding ERDF to each of the partners. Normally, the partners are not transferring funds from one to another. Maybe this is, maybe I'm now guessing, maybe this is a question about sharing activities or sharing invoices, that the one partner would maybe budget costs for the entire partnership, pay and report them, and then the partners would be reimbursing them. This is not possible. If this is the case, it's not possible. So if one partner is budgeting costs, this means that this partner is reporting this cost, and then this partner is getting the reimbursement. It's not possible to share invoices or share costs this way. We are sharing. We are not sharing this way in Interreg Europe.
Right. We are aware that we are running a little bit out of time, but I think it's very important for everyone that is following to answer all your questions. So we will continue until we have no further questions. Can you please confirm that the Norwegian funding is not included in the program recommendation 1 to 2 million ERDF? How is this taken into account during the assessment balanced budget between program areas?
Yeah, when we do this recommendation, yeah, we focus on ERDF, because most of our projects, our partners are receiving ERDF. Norwegian partners are a smaller, much smaller group. So the recommendation concerned 99% of the cases. Let's say the Norwegian the Norwegian funding is 1%. How is it taken into account? So Norway. So maybe there are two things to remember. So balanced budget, it's one thing, but also balanced geographical coverage. So Norway belongs to the north area. So there needs to be a balanced coverage in the partnership. When we look at the budget of Norwegian partners, it will not be such a big, it will not, if the budget of the Norwegian partner tips the scales, maybe let's say to maybe a slightly imbalanced budget to the north of your project partnership, this will not be considered such a bad thing. I mean, for this to be very important, also other northern partners would have to have a much higher percentage of the budget than the other areas. So it will very much depend on the composition of your project as a whole.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Ola. Then we are heading towards the wrap up. We have two questions for the Mediterranean area. We'll take both of them together. From Didier, I would like to know the main changes compared with the previous program with regard to cooperation in the Mediterranean area. What about cross-border program to tackle water issues from Spain to Greece via Italy? and collaboration between Southern Europe and the Maghreb. Maybe first this one and then more relevant for the Med area. But first comments, Ilaria.
Yes, it's a nice question because we can clarify some important aspects regarding Interreg Europe. First of all, so today we are talking about Interreg Europe, which is one of the Interreg programs under the European Territorial Cooperation. Interreg Europe is part of Strand C, so the interregional cooperation, and has the objective of improving regional development policy, supporting local, regional public authorities to deliver better policy. So first of all, if we compare to other cross-border or transnational cooperation programs, which are part of the other strands of the European Territorial Cooperation, Interreg Europe is the only pan-European program covering the entire EU territory, so the 27 member states plus Norway and Switzerland. So as you can see, we need to ensure a wide geographical coverage, and so is different from cross-border or transnational that are specifically focusing on specific geographical areas. We are talking about regions at the borders or transnational area, I don't know, as you are mentioning in your question, the Mediterranean area or Alpine space or Baltic Sea. So we need to distinguish Interreg Europe from this program because each strand has its own logic, own objective. Also, to add, just to make you understand also the differences from these strands. So Interreg Europe, as I was mentioning, we are focusing on the capacity building activities, on the exchange of experience processes, on networking, on the identification of new initiative, good practices, policy solutions. So we are not an implementation-oriented program such as cross-border or transnational. So you need to take into consideration these elements, and looking at your question might be more relevant for you to check the information on the MED program, for instance, covering the Mediterranean area, in case you are interested to work with those specific countries like Spain, Greece, Italy, or also the Maghreb area. Because in Interreg Europe, we need to ensure that you are working with regions from all the geographical area defined by the program, so north, south, east, and west. And maybe, yes, yeah.
Exactly, and just to go a little bit deeper on the question of the Med area, we have the quality of partnership criterion if geographical coverage is ensured, but some partners belong to the Mediterranean area. What is the maximum percentage of partners from Med to ensure a good score in the criterion? Please comment on this, Ilaria, and maybe Alexandra want to add something on that.
Yes, so maybe it's important also to give us some information, yes, on the geographical coverage in general, as I was introducing before, also to link to the last question available in the chat. As I was mentioning, we need to ensure this wide geographical coverage. So for this reason, the program introduces a specific eligibility criterion on the geographical coverage. So you need to ensure that the 4 areas defined by the program are covered. We can see here in the slide the countries that are belonging to those 4 areas. So from the eligibility point of view, you need to make sure that these areas are covered with at least one partner. Then, even if this geographical coverage is met, from the eligibility point of view, we will anyway assess your partnership from a qualitative point of view. And there is also indeed another criterion under the quality assessment, specifically focus on the quality of the partnership. So we want to see if it's balanced, if this partnership goes beyond cross-border or transnational areas or group of countries that are geographically close, because indeed we need to ensure that you go beyond this classic cooperation areas, and you go, you exchange, you work together with all with these wide geographical areas. So you need to consider the eligibility criteria, but also the quality assessment. And considering this regarding this question on MED, for instance, for those partnership that they have at least the 80% of partners that come from the same, I'm talking 80% from coming from the same cross-border or transnational areas, or at least 80% of the budget is allocated to the same cross-border or transnational area, those type of partnership will be score eliminated, so they will not receive, they will not have a full benefit from full assessment, because indeed is too unbalanced, and we see that it goes at least 80% to this specific area. So please pay attention from the eligibility point of view, but also then on the balance of the partnership, and make sure that is balanced among the different countries represented.
Very important question, this indeed, to close this question and answer. We stay with the partnership. Indeed, another question about regions from the same country. They have 12 eligible partnerships from all EU, 3 regions with different policy instruments from the same country, and they're referring to the program manual, where we say that the added value of involving several regions from the same country in a project should be explained in the application form. So indeed, again, a question about eligibility and recommendation. Ilaria.
Yes, indeed, in the program manual, we clearly say that this type of, let's say, arrangements, when you have the same country represented by several partners, for us, it's difficult to see the added value, because indeed we give you the possibility to work with any organization all around Europe, as the program is the only pan-European program covering the entire European Union territory, in addition to, as I was mentioning, other 2 associated partners like Norway and Switzerland. So for us, it's important really to go beyond this, and why you would need several partners coming from the same country, working on different policy instruments. This is very rare, unusual, so as to be strongly justify why you would need this type of arrangement in your partnership. So indeed, you, as I was mentioning, you need to go beyond these cross-border transnational areas, but also, as you are mentioning in your question, the involvement of several partners from the same country is formally possible. There is no, let's say, eligibility criteria for this, but this is very risky, because it may lead to an unbalance of the partnership, because, for instance, more funding goes to the same country. So this is very rare, and you need to, in case you go in this direction, you will need to provide justification to explain why there is this need.
Thank you very much, Ilaria. So you heard all the tips that you have to keep in mind for preparing good applications. Be focused, provide details, be consistent, justify your choices, and I will add, read carefully for any doubts. Our manual, this is the Bible, bedtime reading before you submit your applications. Please go back and clarify if there are any doubts. So we are heading to the end. Before wrapping up, just to remind you that there are still tools for this last week. that you can use to fine-tune your applications. I suppose that already by now you have checked the relevance for your projects, but you can still have a look on the projects and project ideas that are posted. As we have clarified today with you, you need to also provide how you build on previous experiences, your project, how you're innovative. You can share your project idea, you can find partners. And of course, now it does only the last mile to apply for the call, which penciled down that it is closing on the 9th of June at 12 Central European time. You will find all the information online in our hub apply for the call. All the information is there. I think we have also all the recordings from the previous question and answer sessions, 6 sessions. You can watch again and take your time to see all the details on the questions. I think we also have some videos that they go through all the project development steps, about the successful partnership, about how you design the project methodology, your management, budget, finances, and the project communication. So I think you still, of course, have the section on the frequently asked questions. And as we stressed and highlighted, you can still ask your question through the form until there's last week before you submit the application form. I would like to thank you all for all the questions that you have submitted. We really hope that that was very helpful, that we were clear with our answers, and that we really helped you to submit better applications. I thank my colleagues Ilaria and Alexandra for all the guidance and tips and insights that they shared. I also like to thank the team behind the scenes that supported us today, Josephine, Mia, and Petra. And that's all from us. I really wish you all good luck. Thank you very much. Good luck with your applications, and have a nice evening and weekend. Bye-bye.